The hotel. Do you think they'll take us without a reservation? Laura ran her hand over her rounded belly, feeling the baby shift inside her. They should. We haven't seen a single car for miles, and the season's already over, Tom replied, slowly turning onto the gravel road leading to the hotel. Night thickened around them, cloaking the mountains in heavy, inky fog. Their old car struggled up the hill, headlights carving a narrow path through the trees until the building emerged ahead. It was old but well-maintained, a 3-story Victorian-style structure with narrow windows and carved balconies. Laura felt an immediate unease. The hotel looked too empty. No cars in the parking lot, no lights in the windows except for the dim glow on the porch. Tom killed the engine. Well, let's check it out. Reluctantly, Laura stepped out of the car, her fingers unconsciously clutching the amulet around her neck, a gift from her mother. The air was strangely thick, damp, carrying the scent of old wood and something faintly stagnant, like still water. The silence pressed down on them, so dense that even the distant chirping of insects felt muted. They stepped inside. The lobby was bathed in soft yellow light, smelling of aged wood and antique fabric. It was too quiet, as if the walls absorbed all sound. Behind the reception desk stood a woman, tall, gaunt, her face eerily still and emotionless. "Good evening," Tom said, placing a hand on the counter. "We'd like a room for a couple of nights." The woman stared at him. Her eyes were dark, glossy, but disturbingly motionless. "Of course," she said, her voice slow, low, slightly delayed. "Welcome to Mountain Sunrise. I hope you enjoy your stay." Her smile lasted too long, unnatural. A chill stirred inside Laura. She glanced at the guest book on the counter, its pages yellowed with age. She moved to take a peek, but the woman's fingers landed on it. "Sign here, please," she said, her gaze locked onto Laura. Tom took the pen and signed, then passed it to Laura. She hesitated, a cold shiver running down her spine, but forced herself to write her name. The woman handed them a key, metal, old, its worn tag marked 208. "You're in luck. One of our best rooms," she said, but there was no warmth in her voice, no interest. The words felt hollow. Laura felt fingers tighten around her wrist. "Tom, let's go," he murmured, then added under his breath, "This place feels wrong." She nodded. As they stepped away from the desk, Laura glanced back. The woman was still standing perfectly still, watching them. They climbed the staircase. The corridor stretched long, its dark wallpaper and antique lamps casting shadows that seemed to stretch too far. The carpet muffled their steps, making it feel as if they were walking too quietly. "I don't like this place," Laura whispered, gripping Tom's hand. "We'll stay the night and leave in the morning," he reassured her. "It's fine." But when they reached their room and inserted the key, the door swung open by itself. At the far end of the corridor, someone stood in the shadows, and they didn't blink. Laura shoved Tom inside, slammed the door, and pressed her back against it, breathing heavily. "Did you see that?" she whispered. "Someone was there." Tom nodded but didn't seem as shaken. "Yeah, but maybe just another guest?" He moved further inside and flicked on the light. "No one followed us. It was probably nothing." Laura knew it wasn't nothing. She had seen them, their motionless faces, their hungry eyes. The room itself looked normal. Large bed draped in heavy burgundy curtains, an old dresser, a small bathroom. Outside the window, the mountains lay buried in fog. Everything seemed ordinary, yet something felt wrong, as if things weren't quite where they should be, but she couldn't pinpoint why. "Let's just get some sleep," Tom yawned. "I'm too exhausted to think about this. We'll leave in the morning." Laura agreed, but dread coiled inside her. She fell asleep quickly, but it was shallow, and at some point she woke with a feeling, like someone was standing next to the bed. Laura opened her eyes. The room was dark, only faint moonlight filtering in from outside. Everything seemed still, too still. She heard no wind, no creaking floorboards, not even Tom's breathing. And then, something moved in the corner. Slow, almost imperceptible. She flicked on the nightlight, and they were there. Figures, lining the walls, silent, their skin stretched too tightly over bone. Their faces were pale, lips cracked and dry. Black eyes gleamed hungrily in the dim light. Their clothes were old, tattered, as if they had wandered these halls for centuries. Their mouths slowly parted. A faint hiss escaped. Laura couldn't scream. Terror locked her body in place. Inside her, something stirred. Her baby, as if it could feel them too. They want him. The one closest to her tilted its head. Its lips pulled back slightly, revealing dark, jagged teeth. "Life. Inside you," it whispered, but its mouth didn't move. Laura jolted upright in bed, gasping for air. A dream. It was just a dream. But no, a smell seeped in from under the door. Musty, rotten, with a sickly sweet metallic tang, like old blood. Then, knock, knock, knock. Laura froze, afraid to breathe. Tom was still asleep. Knock, knock, knock. The dull thuds came again. Slow, deliberate. They were inside. And then a whisper seeped through the door. "We're glad you stayed." Laura sat bolt upright, trying to calm her racing heart. A dream? But no, the sound hadn't stopped. Knock, knock, knock. She leaned toward Tom and clutched his arm. "Tom, wake up!" she whispered urgently. He groaned, rubbing his face. But when he saw the look on hers, he straightened. "What's wrong?" Laura pointed at the door. Tom tensed at the new sound. It was no longer just knocking. It was a scratching noise. Long, slow, deliberate, as if nails were dragging across the wood. They exchanged a silent glance. "Maybe it's the manager?" Tom suggested, but there was no conviction in his voice. The scratching grew louder. Tom stood up, approached the door and listened. Laura clutched the blanket tightly and then the doorknob began to turn, slowly. Laura sucked in a sharp breath. Tom froze. And then the knob snapped back into place. Footsteps, light, smooth, retreating down the hallway. Seconds passed, but the silence in the room stretched endlessly. "What the hell?" Tom exhaled. Laura stared at the door, fear knotting in her stomach. Who was that? Then she suddenly remembered their eyes. "They don't want us. They want him." "We're leaving tomorrow," she said firmly. Tom nodded slowly, but deep inside she already knew. They wouldn't let them go. Laura didn't sleep for the rest of the night. She lay still, listening to every sound beyond the door. Tom barely slept either. He sat against the headboard, clutching his phone. No signal. "This can't be real," he whispered. "Maybe it's a prank, or just weird guess." Laura didn't answer. She knew this was no prank. She could feel them, their hunger, their intent. When the first light of dawn seeped through the curtains, Tom sprang up. "That's it. We're leaving. Now." Laura nodded. She wanted out. They packed in minutes. Tom grabbed the key and yanked the door open. The hallway was empty. Just silence. Old carpets muffling their footsteps. They hurried downstairs. The lobby was deserted. The hotel was watching. Tom rushed to the entrance and pulled the handle. The door didn't budge. Laura felt her stomach tighten. "Tom!" He pulled again, harder. Nothing. Panic set in. Tom turned to the front desk, looking around desperately, then grabbed the service bell and slammed it. Silence. Laura's chest tightened. She pressed a hand over her belly, as if trying to shield the baby from something unseen. The air had changed. It had become heavier. The hotel itself was watching. "There has to be a back exit," Tom muttered. They ran toward the kitchen. Every step echoed in the empty building. They darted past old tables, through dim hallways, until they saw another door. Tom rushed forward, grabbed the handle. It didn't move. He froze, looked at Laura. Slowly, as if in slow motion, he tried again. The handle didn't even shift. And then, a sound from the other side of the door. Laura stiffened. Tom tensed. They were not alone. The shuffling grew heavier. Breathing. Something was right behind the door. Tom stepped back. The breathing deepened, dry, ragged, as if the lungs behind it didn't work as they should. And then, they spoke. "He must be born here." The voice was wet, seeping into their minds like a whisper crawling through their thoughts. Laura clutched Tom's arm. "Who are you?" Tom shouted. Silence. And then, a bang, A massive impact against the door, so strong that the floor shook. Laura screamed. Tom grabbed her shoulders and turned her around. "Upstairs! Now!" They ran up the stairs, but something was already waiting for them. On the landing stood them, pale, tall. Their lips were dark, cracked, but beneath them, fangs gleamed. Their skin was stretched over bones, torn in places, exposing tendons that still moved. They stared directly at Laura. "You carry him. You will give him to us." The voice wasn't spoken. It was inside her head. They stepped forward. Laura pressed herself against the wall, cradling her belly. Her heartbeat pounded in her ears. They were everywhere. Tall, emaciated figures, hollow eyes sinking into dark pits. Their withered lips curled into twisted grins. They didn't just want her, they were waiting. "Tom," she exhaled, feeling something cold glide across her skin. They were touching her mind. They could feel the life inside. Tom didn't respond. He stepped forward, shielding her. "You won't have her!" he shouted, raising his arm. But the creatures only hissed. The first one lunged. Its movements were erratic, jerking, but it was fast. Tom didn't react in time. It grabbed him by the throat and slammed him against the wall. Claws dug into his skin. Thin trails of blood seeped from the wounds. "You are not needed," the whisper slithered into his skull. Tom writhed, choking on the grip. His eyes widened in pain. Laura screamed. They were going to kill him, but they didn't. They only watched her. "Does it hurt?" The whisper coiled around her mind. "Give him to us, and he will live." Laura clutched her head. The voices pressed into her skull. Her veins pulsed beneath her skin. Her body felt heavy. Her legs shook. No. They surrounded her. Thin, withered fingers brushed against her belly. "You will not live long enough to birth him." One of them opened its mouth. Its lips cracked, bleeding, revealing teeth that were wrong. Laura screamed, shoving the creature away, but it didn't move. And then, Tom collapsed. His eyes began to roll back. They were draining the life from him. Laura stopped thinking. She grabbed the nearest lamp and swung it with all her strength, striking the closest creature. A sickening crack, a howl, the snap of bone. It staggered but did not fall. "Run!" Tom rasped, clinging to consciousness. Laura seized his arm and pulled. Her body burned with fear. They ran. Down the hallway toward the first door. Tom grabbed the handle. Locked. Laura sobbed in panic. The second door. Locked. The third. Behind them they were coming. She yanked the last door. "Open!" They stumbled inside, slamming it shut behind them. Tom shoved a heavy cabinet against it. In the darkness, his breathing was ragged. "They won't stop," he whispered. Laura pressed against him, trembling. Her belly twitched. Something inside her was moving wrong. And then, scratching at the door. "We will take him." The voice seeped through the walls. "We will take him, even if you die." Laura knew they would never let her go. Tom grabbed her shoulders. His eyes were wild, filled with pain and desperation. "Laura!" His hands cupped her face. "We have to find another way out." But she already knew. There was no way out. Laura's breath came in gasps, clinging to Tom's arm. They weren't trying to break in. They were waiting. "Tom," she whispered, feeling something shift inside her. Tom squeezed her hand. His fingers were ice cold. "We have to do something," he said, scanning the room. "We can't just sit here." But Laura couldn't move. A wave of warmth spread through her belly. Tight, unnatural. Her skin stretched. And for a moment she swore something was trying to push out. Tom saw it. "Laura, what's happening?" She clamped her hands over her mouth. But then, a sound, faint, drawn out, knocking. Not from outside, from inside. Laura screamed, doubling over, hands clutching her stomach. "Tom, he's moving. Wrong!" Tom lunged toward her. The light flickered. The floor trembled. The walls breathed. And the door vanished. The hotel was no longer letting them go. Laura collapsed to her knees, body trembling. The baby was moving too fast, too strong. She groaned as her bones shifted, her muscles tensed, as if something else was growing inside her. It is not him. The voices slithered into her mind. He is no longer yours. Tom recoiled in horror. Laura's belly bulged. The skin pulled tight, veins throbbing. Something pressed against it, and then it opened its eyes from the inside. Beneath the thin skin, under pulsing veins, two black eyes. They blinked. Laura screamed. No! 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 Tom lunged for her, but her body was no longer hers. Her spine arched, a wet tear. Something moved, pushing its way out. Tom screamed, because he saw it. It was not a child. Something pale, sinewy, thin, elongated fingers unfurling from inside her. A tiny mouth, smiling. It did not cry like a newborn. It laughed, and the voices outside spoke in unison. He is born. Laura went still, her eyes empty, her face twisted in an unnatural grimace. Laura! Tom grabbed her shoulders in terror, but she did not respond. She was no longer Laura. Thin, cold fingers wrapped around his throat, and the last thing he heard before the world vanished was his wife's voice. But it was not her voice. Now you are part of us.
If this story made your heart race, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Hit the like button to support new chilling tales, and tap the bell. That way, you won't miss the next dose of horror. In the comments, let us know how much you enjoyed the story and which themes scare you the most. Who knows? Maybe your idea will become the next nightmare.